Okay, well, I figured I'd do a quick video on binding it up and setting up the optional safe mode, and also going through setting up the switch to turn it on and off. The manual seems to be pretty easy, so let's just do a video and see if it's as easy as it says. We'll do this thing together. So you can see it went together pretty smooth. 30-minute build time. All I've got to do is put my bombs on, put my guns on, and it's ready to go. But basically what we're going to do when we bind this, first thing I'm going to do, because we're going to be messing around with the radio, is I'm going to get my prop off of here just to be safe. So this just unscrews real easy. Hold on to that prop adapter. Everything comes off. I'm going to set that aside. All right, so what we've got here is I've got my 3S battery in. I've got everything plugged into my AS3X gyro receiver. All my yellow or orange cables are pointing up. For the signal wire is pointing up. And I've got my bind plug in. So when you bind these airplanes, like we've all done, 3 easy steps. You put in your bind plug, you plug in your battery, you wait to see you get the flashing light, meaning you're in bind mode, and then you step away with your radio, turn it on while holding down the bind button, and pretty simple. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a step between steps 2 and 3, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually pull our bind plug out before we bind to the radio. So we're going to get the receiver in bind mode the way we normally do, and then we're going to pull the bind plug out and then bind to the radio. So that's something new. And what that's going to do is that's going to put us in this mode where we have the option to turn this beginner mode, I like to call it, on and off with a switch. And we're going to know it's set up that way because when we bind that way, all of our control surfaces are going to wag twice. And if we bind normally, then the control surfaces are just going to wag back and forth once. And that's how we know if we're bound in a mode where we've got the safety feature on or the safety feature off. A lot of you guys may just want to have it off. You're used to flying these with just a stabilizer and they fly great that way. But again, for training purposes, I want to be able to get into that safe mode for beginner pilots so that they can just fly around without having to worry about over banking, over correcting, things like that. All right, so I'm going to throw this thing right now into bind mode, and I've already set up on my radio. I'm using a DX9. I've already set up this model per the manual. I went in and did the things we normally do where we reverse the gear switch. So I'm all set to go to bind to the radio. I've already set up the P-47 Razorback in here, so I'm ready to bind up. So that's a step you want to do before. And so I'm ready now to plug in my battery. My bind plug's in, and this is going to put my receiver in bind mode, which it is. As you can see, my receiver is flashing, bind plug in, I'm in bind mode. So now I'm going to do that unusual step where I'm going to pull my bind plug out. We normally don't do that, but the bind plug's out, and I'm still flashing away. So I'm now going to step away and bind to the radio. Be right back.
Binding. DSMX 22 milliseconds. Telemetry. Bind complete.
Okay. So I'm bound up. And I would normally pull my bind plug out now, but the bind plug has been pulled out. And I don't know if you saw it or not, but my surfaces wag back and forth slightly twice. So now what I do normally is radio's still on, I'm bound up. I'm going to just move my ailerons. And I can see that I'm bound up. So everything's responding. So things are looking good. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the battery. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the radio. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug back in with the radio on like we normally would. And again, bind plug's out. We're pretty much ready to go. But I do want to assign a switch on my radio to enable and disable this safe mode. And I'm going to try using my bind button for this. On a lot of the fly zone airplanes, guys are used to hitting this bind button up here to go into sort of like a panic recovery, a safe mode type deal. We can assign any switch we want to it, and the way we do it is when we're plugged in and bound up, we move our sticks both down and in, kind of like if you fly a quadcopter. This is what you normally would do to engage the motors before you start flying. So when I do that, I am then telling the receiver, hey, check this out, I want to assign a switch. And I pick a switch or a bind button, and in this case, I push it 5 times. And then what I'm waiting to see is things will rotate again, telling me that, yep, got it, bound up to that, or not bound, but using that switch for the safe mode. So let's see how that goes. Radio's on. I'm now going to plug in my battery. It's already bound up. And again, the only thing I'm doing now is I'm going to set my safe mode switch that I want to use. Now, I don't know if you saw that, but everything moved twice. Now, if it only moved once, then I would be in a regular mode with no safety option. But I'm in the mode, according to the manual, where the safety option is available, and now I have to assign a switch. And the way it says to do that is I'm going to simultaneously move my sticks. And by the way, this is why my prop's off, because I'm going to be moving this throttle stick. So some guys, I used to all the time make a mistake where I'd run that up accidentally. So I'm going to do myself and do you a favor and have the prop off for that. So at any rate, simultaneously, I'm moving these to the lower inside and pushing this button 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, maybe it doesn't like using that button. Okay. Let's try a switch. I'll use this switch. Yep, there we go. Okay, so what we just learned together is that it doesn't like using the bind button for the on and off feature for the safe mode. So I elected to use this switch over here, and I chose this switch because I'm not using it for anything else. This is the switch I'll be using to engage my students on and off for wireless buddy box. I didn't want to use that. And of course, my retracts are over here, standard switch, flaps over here, standard switch. So I elected to use this switch. So this now has been set and programmed to turn my safe mode on and off. Now, with these planes, we run the throttle up to 25% to engage the, this turns on the AS3X. So now I should be able to see, yeah, it's working. So now the question is, when I engage a safety mode, is it doing anything different? It really looks like it is. So the real test is going to be on the flying field, how this works. But according to the manual, everything worked pretty good. Per the manual, I followed the directions, everything worked. The one thing that it didn't like, it doesn't like using this button. It's possible it could be because I have to go into the radio and reverse this. So it's possible I will be able to use this button, but I have to first reverse it in the radio. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and use this switch to turn on this safe mode on and off. That'll be fine. So what I'll do is I'll get my bombs on tonight, get those glued up, get this out to the flying field this weekend, and we'll do a maiden flight video. And then we can see how well this safe option works. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for watching.